Hi, so this is episode 3 of the timing and spacing series. In the previous episode, we have finished doing the in-betweens. So now we will do the tie downs, and then the cleanup, and then the color. So this is going to be a long video, so timestamps will be below. And before we begin, I'd like to mention our memberships. So you can now join our channel, and by joining, you get access to members-only lessons. You'll also have drills and assignments to do, and we will give feedback on your output. If you like this kind of learning, then click the join button below or click the link in the description. The project files of this tutorial will also be available to our members. Now let's get back to the tutorial and let's begin. Next, what we're gonna do is the tie downs. So basically a tie down is a much cleaner version of the rough. It's still a sketch, it's not the final thing, but it's a much cleaner version. So currently, if we're gonna take a look at our rough animation, we have these guides and it doesn't even have a face, right? Sometimes when you do the rough animation, it already has a face, but basically the rough animation is your most comfortable way to draw, like some sort of your shorthand. And if you are quick to draw the face, you could also include the face in the rough. But here in our rough, we did not include the face, and we still have a lot of guides. So when we are gonna do the tie downs, it's still going to be a sketch, but it would look now more like the design, right? So let's do that. I'm going to demonstrate how to do the tie downs, and for the tie down color, let's just use black so that it's neutral. And our layers are a bit messy, so I'm just gonna clean this up a bit. So I'm going to create a folder right here and maybe just rename this as backup. All of the guide layers that we did. So I have FOMO, fear of missing out, right? So I'm afraid that I might delete something, so I keep a copy of it. But it's it's making the whole file very messy. And I'm just gonna bring them to the backup folder, so I could collapse it like that. And the hair guide, so I'm going to expand it again. The hair guide should also be here. And what other things? So now let me collapse the backup folder. So everything is there. So what's in here are the things that we need for the animation. So these are empty. We don't need this. I'm just gonna select both of them and delete. So we have now this, right? And I'm going to reveal the layer 1 because this is where the face is. So I'm going to create now a new layer and rename this as tie down. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock the hair animation and turn on the outline mode for the hair animation and the rough so that I could see my guide, or it's easier to draw. And also when we are going to clean this up, the onion skin is not going to show. I mean, the onion skin for the rough animation and the hair animation isn't going to show in our onion skin. But in the tie downs, you can still make some adjustments, right? Some corrections. If you saw an error in your rough, you can still fix that in your tie downs. Again, the tie downs is not final yet, right? So if you think that the tie down is already final, chances are your hand is going to it's gonna be stiff, right? We don't want you to be stiff at this point. The cleanup is where it's gonna be final, right? This is still just a tie down. So let's do this. I'm just gonna press F4, and I'm gonna time lapse this, and you'll see what a tie down would look like. So so when I do the tie downs, so for example the limbs, the leg, the hand, or I mean the arm, I normally just draw them a bit zoomed out. But when drawing the more specific more specific stuff like the foot, the shoe, I would want it to be a bit zoomed in so that I would have like much cleaner, more precise like strokes. But for example, like the leg, right? It's not practical to do this, then pan up, right? And like my screen is only like limited, right? So I need like to draw like this one in like one stroke. So I zoomed out enough that I could like see like the whole thing. But when it comes to drawing the hand or like details, I zoom in a bit. So let's continue. So again, this one isn't part of the design, but this is just the our guide for the animation. Like, where is the bending point? So when I'm going to do the tie down, I'm not ever gonna include this because that wasn't really part of the design in the first place. So now we are done with our first like tie downs. I'm just gonna hide like the guide. So this is what a tie down looks like. So I'm just gonna select this and see that's the difference. So this is what a tie down would look like. Um, it's clean right now because I was just tracing the design, right? But when I'm going to like do the other poses, um, if you could draw it right really clean, that's like good. But if you still are in the a bit like sketchy style, that's still all right. But try to make it less sketchy at this point. So now let's continue. And when I do the tie downs, I still do it pose to pose, right? I don't do it straight ahead, right? Like here, I still do it pose to pose. Why? Because you're still like doing some corrections, and along the way you'll get why we have to do it or why I do it pose to pose for the tie downs, so that when I do like the in-betweens, the lines are very consistent, right? So I'm gonna use this one, I think, here. So this one is the like anticipation, right? So I'm gonna press F7 now, and then I'm going to like create a like tie down of this, and I use this technique to like align. I've already shown you this, right? So I want to add like a squash and stretch to the head, right? We did not add this in the roughs. I think we should have, but I had like a last minute like change in my mind, and I thought, hey, it's going to look awesome if we add like a squash and stretch to the head. So you can still do that, right? We're still on the tie downs and we're still not in the cleanup. Ideally, when we are on the cleanup, it should be like final. We're gonna like change anything, right? On the tie downs, we can still make like a bit of changes. So I already have like my guide here for the head. So let me just like add a squash. So the ear would be maybe somewhere like here. And we already have this design for like the inside of the ears. I'm already going to apply that. And I'm going to have like the eye. So this is where the eye is a bit squashed. And this is where the eyebrows would be. And let's take a look at the so the design is like the eyebrow and the nose is connected. So I'm also gonna apply that here. So something like that, and we have like the hair. So we don't like have the skull, right? So we have like this, right? And so now it feels a bit squashed, right? So instead of like repeating like the roughs again, I already like added this change on the tie downs. And what I'm gonna do is we are like going to use the same technique that we did before, and just going to like align like this. And so let me just adjust this one. So once I've aligned it, I think we could like fix now this one a bit better, something like that. And now we are going to in between this, right? In like on place. And then I'm just gonna like adjust the position later for the head. So we're gonna do the head first. So I'm gonna press F7 and F7 right here. And so I'm gonna start here. And I'm gonna press F4, and I'm just gonna focus on like the head for now. And then move on this frame, and then do the in-between. So now let's have a look. See, that's how it would look like. It's on place, and it's a bit distorted, and that's intentional. I want this to be like having that squash and stretch, and I want this to be a bit stretched out. So I'm gonna like press F7 here, and I'm going to like do the tie downs of this. So this is the ear, and then I want this to be a bit so we have the hair, something like that, and this is where the eye would be, but I want it to be a bit stretched, and the eye would be a bit stretched also, and the eyebrow and the nose is connected and a bit stretched. I don't know if this is gonna look good, but this is only one frame, so it looks a bit distorted, but we'll see. So I'm just gonna do the in-between here. So I'm going to align them, right? And go to this frame, then press F7, then I'm gonna do the in-between. And let's have a look. And at this point, it's now going to be normal. So I'm going to press F7. From here on, like forward, it's going to be normal. So now I'm going to place the like position on its rightful place. Right, and let's have a look for the head. Yeah, I think it's good. I'm going to hide the hair animation and rough animation so that we could see with just the tie down what it looks like. So now let's proceed. So from here, it's gonna be like normal. So I could just use this as a guide. Again, take note of the eye. So I'm gonna review again the eye shape, the normal eye shape. So it's a bit of an oval vertically, right? So it's not like this, it's more like this. And I just want to get used to or I could just like copy this, okay, and then paste it here. And this is gonna be like my guide, so that when I'm gonna like do the tie downs here, this one is gonna be my guide. So I'm gonna lock this and then turn on the outline mode, and then press F4. Now I could proceed doing this one. This is just like a reminder for me what the like head looks like. So I just want to do the head first before doing the rest of the body. So you might be wondering why I don't just copy paste the head. The reason is that remember that we also animated the angle of the head, so there are like slight variations of the head, so I need to redraw them. The second reason is that if I'm going to copy paste, so it's going to be exactly the same. And if you have tried that in your animation, you will like notice, right, that it feels a bit robotic. And sometimes by drawing it again, it's like we have this like inconsistent look, although we do try to make it as consistent as possible. But drawing it again, it's going to feel more hand drawn, and it has a certain appeal to it if we're gonna do it like that. Yeah, that's the reason why I don't just want to copy paste. So I like want to recreate like everything. But anyway, it's not really that hard to redraw this because we already have like the structure. We're just adding in now the detail. But yeah, the main reason is that we did change the angle, right? So the position of the eye versus the ear, and you know the head overall, the angle changes. So the tie downs need to be like drawn again and again. So I want to make some certain adjustment because now I noticed that she is like looking down a bit here, but we did not adjust like the hairline. So we do need to adjust this if, so I'm gonna lock my guide, and we need to adjust this one. The hairline isn't that high, so if it's going to look down, the hairline would also somewhere here. It's gonna like go down as well, something like that. And since we should also animate like the hairline, right? That it should have like the in-betweens would also be adjusted, right? So we need to like align them. So I'm just I think this part here, the character is still like looking forward, and then here it looks down. So we need to in between the head or the hairline from here to here, right? So let's use this frame as our like our basis. So let me adjust that. Yeah, this is the one that we want. So for now I'm just gonna like align it here, and I'm going to align like everything at that point so that we could like in between and just like um bring them to its right position like after. So now we need to do the in between. So this one, I'm going to like delete this and create like the in between of this. And this one, we should also like delete or adjust the hairline and create the in between so that it would have like smooth. So I'm going to turn off like the onion skin, and you'll see it will have like a smoother like looking down like motion. So now I think we're already good with this. Let's bring this now to its like right position, and let's continue with our tie downs. I'm just gonna bring this one here. So this one, I want to like add squash and stretch to the head. So let me do that. I'm going to delete this because I made an error. We should have like the squash at this, and this one would be the in between, right? So I'm just gonna like press F4 again, and actually the head is covered by the hand, but let's just like draw this one as if the hand isn't like seen yet. So it's gonna like squash like that, and we'll just like erase, like for example here it's covered with the arm, but I'm still gonna draw the ear for now, and we'll have like the eye squashed, eyebrow, nose, and then mouth. So let's use this. And for the in-between, let's turn on the onion skin. So currently they are like too far like away, right? So let's just align them so that we could in between it better, or in between it much easier. So that's already good. Now let's put this back on its right position. Oh, we forgot. Let me undo this. We forgot the nose. So let's do the in-between for the nose as well. Now let's bring it back to its rightful place. Oh, we also forgot. I'm forgetting a lot of things. We also forgot like the brow, this brow. And I think now we're done. And again, for the last time, let's bring this to its rightful place. So this one is like I'm gonna adjust the onion skin. So I want this one to be an in between, right? So I need to do this first. This one is like it has returned to its like normal shape, so I could just like use this as a basis. So now this one is like back to its normal shape, and I think this is still like a bit looking down, so the hairline is still here and not like at the peak of this. And again, this is an in between, so I'm gonna adjust the onion skin, and I'm going to align this one here. And so I'm just gonna turn off the rough animation because it's a bit messy, and then we can now do the in between here. So I'm just gonna adjust again the onion skin so that we can just focus on these two frames. And now let's do the in-between. I'm just checking if I like forgot something. I think we already have the brow, the nose, and that's already good. So now let's bring this to its right full place. So let's bring back the rough animation again. And the head here should be somewhere here. And let's continue on with our tie down for the head. And the last frame, so I think so I'm just gonna delete this. Remember I'm just gonna copy like the first frame, the first tie down here, the first one. I'm just gonna copy this because basically it's just like the same. So I'm gonna paste it here. But the hair would like still have a different movement. So I'm just going to so I did copy the whole pose, but I'm just gonna press F4, press L on my keyboard. That's the lasso tool, and I'm just gonna delete the hair because it's still going to move. It has a different movement, and which we will do in a while. So I'm gonna press F4 again and hide the guide, this one, and then hide the rough animation so that you'll see this is the tie downs, and what we did is first the head, right? So now let's do like the rest of the body, the hand, the leg, and etc. So let's again go back here, and the way I do this is again, as I've told you before, I go to the key poses. So I started with the starting pose, and then I'm gonna do the anticipation. So this is the anticipation, right? So I'm gonna click now this one, and then press B, and then press F4, and then now let's do the tie downs of this. So we are already done with this one now, and then so this one here, the tie down's already done, and this one here, the tie down's already done. Here it's just the head, right? So and this is like you should always like remember like your easing, because that's also like how you would like in between it in your tie downs. This is like easing into this frame. So I'm gonna like do this one and then this one next. If you are like bothered with like the head, like the like in betweens of the head, you could actually create like a different layer for the head so that it's not going to be included in your onion skin. But I'm like completely fine with this, but some may find this a bit distracting. So what you can do is like have a tie down for head, you have a different like tie down for the rest of the body, right? So okay, so now let's continue. And when you are like faced with an option whether to follow the in between of your tie downs or follow your rough, so always follow the correctness of the tie downs, right? So when like for example, so currently we have everything good so far, but right here when I'm using this as a guide for like the direction, the volume, etc. But if I saw that or there's like something wrong with your drawing when you look at it on the in-betweens when doing the tie downs, then I would trust or I would follow the onion skin and not the rough, right? So this is where the like adjustment comes in, right? So in like doing the tie downs, you are like also adjusting, right? So if you saw any mistakes, you would correct it. So this is that part. So right now I'm correcting a few things, or currently there's no like mistake yet, but I'm sure in a while there will be. So for example here, right? My rough is strictly like this, right? But upon seeing the onion skin of the tie down, I made certain adjustments to make the movement a bit smooth, right? So like I made it closer a bit to this pose, so that it's not that abrupt, right? So that was like my adjustment. So for example, this one, the rough, right, tells me that I should do it like this. But if you look at the in-betweens, it's telling me that the stroke should be here, right? So which should I follow? I should follow the onion skin, right? So the onion skin is telling me that I should draw between this line and this line. But the rough is over here, right? So I'm not going to follow the rough. I'm going to follow the onion skin. So basically, the rough now is just a guide, right? It's a guide so that you don't have to like do the in-between process all over again. But in terms of like correctness, you check the onion skin. So now I'm going to like in between this again. So remember the sequence that we did the key poses, right? Or what we did was we have the starting pose, anticipation, breakdown 1, action, breakdown 2, recoil, and then the settle pose. So now I'm looking for the breakdown 1. So this is the breakdown 1. So I'm gonna skip this because this one's an in between. Right? So I'm gonna do the breakdown 1 before the in between. I'm gonna do this. And then I'm gonna do the frame before this one. I'm just gonna adjust the onion skin. So here you'll see that I did not follow the rough guide, right? I followed the in between of the onion skin. Right? So that's also like the reason why I don't like do the tie downs in a straight ahead manner, that I start here, then here, 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 and then so on, right? I segment it. So I created this and then the anticipation and then do the in betweens so that we'll have a much smoother like animation, right? So for example, we could like have fixed something like this. But if we did this like in a straight ahead way, we may have just followed the rough animation, which has like a wrong like overall position, and we don't want that, right? For example, here I already have like my like the onion skins, and I know where they are placed, so I'm gonna adjust accordingly to that. So for example here, right, the shoe is a bit smaller. So that's like one fix that we could do, right? So instead of drawing here, I'm going to draw it here because that's what my onion skin is telling me. So I'm also going to modify the hair. I think have lost like volume. It's like majority of the hair is now covered by the body. So I'm just going to adjust it so it's much more visible. And let's have a look of what we have so far. So I'm going to hide the rough animation so we could now just see the tie downs, right? So far it's looking good. So let's proceed. So again, this is the breakdown. Let's look for the action. So this one's the action. So let's do this. And now we are going to follow like the easing of this. This is like easing into this frame. So I'm gonna do this first, then this next, and so on, right? So like how we did it in the like in betweens, that's also what I'm trying to do with the tie downs, right? So I'm just gonna adjust the onion skin that it would reveal this one just for reference. So we have finished the in-betweens from the breakdown to the action, and let's have a look. Now let's proceed. So I'm gonna turn on again the rough animation, and we are going to locate the breakdown to, so this one. So let me complete the breakdown, and I need the guide, this one, just for reference, and I'm going to like unlock this and just move this a bit. And now let's do the breakdown of this. I mean the tie down, not the breakdown. Let's do the tie down of this. So now I'm seeing a bit of like error with, so I need to bring this here. So the perspective was wrong with the first one. So I just like adjusted it. So I have finished this one. So I'm going to like do the in-betweens of the tie downs from, so I'm just gonna hide this from here to here, right? And since this is like easing out, I'm going to like do the tie downs like in a backward manner so that the in-between or the onion skin would work well. So I'm gonna do this next. So we're done with the tie downs from the action to the second breakdown, and we're almost done with the whole animation for the breakdown. So let's have a look. So let me hide that guide and like the roughs, and let's have a look at what we have so far. So now let's proceed. We only have like a few frames left. So now we are going to locate the recoil. This is the recoil. This is only an in-between. This one is the recoil. So we're gonna do this first. Again, I'm gonna turn this on just for like guide. So the like majority of the face would be covered. So I'm just gonna erase some of these. Right? So this is, so I'm gonna like delete now, I think this part here and also this part. So just to note, if you have like drawn something, don't be afraid to erase. Like for example, this one, I have drawn the body, but then I realized that the knee would cover a portion of the body. So I just erased this portion because there's going to be an overlap. And the overlaps like this actually helps in making your drawing more 3D rather than 2D, because in 3D objects overlap each other, right? So don't be afraid to erase, don't be afraid to do some overlap. So next I'm gonna do this this one. This is an in-between from this frame and the recoil. So let's do that. I'm gonna turn on the onion skin, and then let's do the tie down. So now we only have like 2 more frames for the body, but for the hair we still have like to do like more in betweens, but this is almost done. So let's like hide everything, I mean hide the guides, and let's have a look. So frame by frame is a very tedious process, but once you see your animation come to life, it feels very rewarding, and that feeling is kind of like addicting. At first, it's like you're crying when you're doing the in betweens, but once you see yourself improve, once you see like the animation, the feeling of fulfillment is very addicting, and you would want to like animate more. But anyway, now we are going to do the in betweens for this one. So, or from recoil to the settle pose, right? So I'm gonna do this, and then we're done. But the hair still like continues on, right? So I'm gonna do this first. So I'm gonna adjust my onion skin, and then let's continue. I will adjust my drawing a bit because I think I was wrong. So uh, I need to move this. So I made a mistake. This is the pose for like the settle pose. I'm just gonna adjust. I've noticed it because the foot placement was wrong. So I just like looked at it, and then I discovered that I made a mistake. Okay, so I adjusted now um, the position of the settle pose. This one's already correct. So we still need to do like two more of the tie downs, um, or three. So we're still at this frame. So we need to do this and also this one here. And we missed like doing the tie downs for the head, but we'll do that later. So now for this, let's continue. So we're done with the main animation, but we still have two frames to add for the hair. But let's have a look, and it's good. I really like the outcome of this. So now let's do the hair. So at this point, the body already like stopped moving, but the hair still has like some slight movements to it. So what we could do is I could just like press F6 on my keyboard, right, and press F6 here, and just draw like the so that I don't have to draw like the whole body again, or so that I also don't need to create a new layer. Now let's just do the hair. So basically, I already like pre-made like the copies. So it's like it's the same as copy and then pasting it to the next frame. So now I'm just gonna like draw the hair, and we're done. Let's hide like the guide, and I'm gonna click fit in window, and let's preview. But we're still not done yet. If you look closely on my drawings, it's not exactly clean like this, right? And yeah, that's where cleanup is gonna come in. So I still like I was a bit rushing when I was like drawing this. It's a bit like much cleaner than the rough, but it's still not like super final, right? I still like made like adjustments, but now we are ready. So okay, I saw like some mistake here. So the hair is like incomplete. So let me just correct this. And but I think now it's much cleaner than the strokes are already like defined, right? The line art is already defined. So the next step, you're now ready to do the cleanup. So the final step is the cleanup. So before we do the cleanup, let's take a look again at the design, and let's analyze the execution of like the style of the design, and let's figure out a way like the best approach to do the cleanup. So I'm just gonna like reveal this one, and let me hide the tie down for now. So we have this, and let's bring this to 100% opacity. So I'm gonna click this, right click, go to properties, and the opacity, I'm just gonna make this visible. And then so this is now like the design. I'm just gonna press F4 on my keyboard so that I could have this full screen. So the design is like it's vector. It doesn't have an outline. It's a solid shape, right? So how do we do that in Adobe Animate? Let's figure that out later. But it's not fully like solid color. It has like lines. It has outlines, but on parts that are like the same color. Like for example, the shoulder and the body are the same color, and if we take out this outline, the shape would be like merged. It's also the same for like the leg, right? Imagine if there's no outline, it's like the left leg and the right leg are just like one like whole thing, and the outline is what's separating both of them. And we also have outlines on like details like the fingers, and also the brow. This one are like lines, this one's a line. So we need to establish the rules, right? So the rules here is we're gonna use like overall it's gonna be like a solid color, a solid shape, but on the details like the facial features would have an outline or a line, or details on the hand would have an outline. But on parts also that that needs separation, like for example this one, that's where we're gonna like do the outline, right? So how do we translate this to Adobe Animate and the way we do the cleanup? So I'm just gonna like create a new layer and rename this as my cleanup. So we need like two layers for this, right? One for the solid color and another layer for like the outlines, right? So for the solid color, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna press Y on my keyboard, right? That's going to be the paintbrush tool. So the icon of that here, I think it's hidden. It's right here. So you need to click this one, and it's like this icon, paintbrush tool. The shortcut is Y on your keyboard. And what this is it's an outline. This isn't a like it's not a fill brush. It's a stroke brush. So this is a line, and what we want is once we have like created like the outline, just imagine that we have like drawn the character. We're going to fill this with colors. I'm just gonna like create any color would do for now. And color, or let me just make this to orange, maybe something like that. And the good thing about this is once we have an outline, we need to select everything, and then we can change the outline color to empty, and that would like delete the outline. Imagine we have this and it's colored, and that's a way to like eliminate like the outline, so we only have like the solid color. And then once we have the solid color made, we're gonna like create a new layer, and I'm just gonna use maybe a classic brush tool, which is the shortcut is B on your keyboard. So this is a fill brush, and maybe I'm just gonna like do like the details right after. So we have like the solid color, and just like do the details when it's like needed, right? Like for example, something like this. So that's the strategy of what we're gonna do. So I'm gonna delete this for now, and for the cleanup, I'm just gonna like delete this again. And so to start, we're gonna use the paintbrush tool, which is the shortcut is Y, right? And we're gonna do the cleanup. So I'm gonna hide this. So you might be wondering, why didn't we just use the paintbrush tool when doing the tie downs? That way we can just fill this up, and then delete the outlines. The reason is, remember that we are like progressively like improving the drawing, right? And we don't want to be held back by drawing accurate lines at this point in the tie downs. We are correcting, but our focus was to like make the rough. This was the rough, right? To make the rough closer to the design. And at this point, our focus isn't to create cleaner lines, but our focus is to make this like on model, on design, right? And I think the like classic brush tool feels like more pen-like than the um, paintbrush tool. And I think the paintbrush tool you really like need to be like accurate in your like strokes. So that's the reason why we did that, not like now, right? Because as you can see here, there are still like mistakes, right? But we need like you could see those mistakes if like zoomed in. So at this point, right, it's not needed for this to be in the like classic brush tool. The fill brush is already enough with this one, right? So that's the reason. And also, if you're wondering what's the difference between if I'm gonna press B on my keyboard, that's the classic brush tool, and pressing Y on my keyboard, the paintbrush tool, this is a stroke and this one's a fill. So the advantage of this is you can have everything in stroke and then you fill it with color, and then you could select everything and remove only the stroke. This one, you can't do that, right? So if we're gonna fill this up with color, you can't remove the stroke because this one doesn't have a stroke. This one isn't a stroke, it's actually a fill, because what the B shortcut, the classic brush, is a fill brush. The Y is a stroke brush. So now we're gonna use a stroke brush for our cleanup. So I'm just gonna like turn on the outline mode for the tie down and click lock. And for the color, doesn't really matter what the color is because we are going to delete the outline later, right? So blue would be fine, but the blue on your onion skin doesn't translate well. It's gonna be quite confusing. So I'm just gonna change this maybe to red. So this is what we're gonna use for our like cleanup. And the way I do cleanup is if in the tie downs I did the tie downs post. In cleanup, I'm gonna do it straight ahead because I'm already assuming that I did my homework, that this one's already good, right? It's just ready to be cleaned up, right? So at this point, I'm not anymore correcting, but that's the ideal scenario, that when you're gonna do the cleanup, you're not anymore correcting the poses, you're not correcting anything, but more of you're just creating cleaner lines. So let's do that. So I'm gonna press F4 and I'm just gonna time lapse this, and then you'll see like how I'm gonna like do the cleanup. So I just want to explain this one. Like for example, like what I did with the hand. I'm not drawing it like this, right? I'm not like doing it like finger by finger, but more of looking at the silhouette, because I already know that this is going to be filled up and then we're gonna like delete the outlines later, right? And we're going to draw in a separate layer the details. So I don't need to draw it like this, right? So I'm just going to look at the silhouette, and that's what I'm going to like do the cleanup of, right? Because I'm thinking in terms of shapes. So here I'm not anymore gonna like draw this, because anyway, this layer is the solid color and we're going to select everything and then like remove like the outlines, right? So I'm not gonna do this. That's going to be later. Okay, so now let's continue. So I have finished like the outline of this first layer. So I'm gonna hide the tie downs for now. So it looks like this. And you might be wondering about, since this is the cleanup, right? But why do I have this like excess lines? These are intentional. because we are going to delete the lines later anyway, so this doesn't matter. So I'm doing this just to ensure that I have a closed path, right? So because when we fill, it needs to be closed, right? So for example, if I have that stroke and I have this one, there's a chance, like for example here, right? There's a chance that it's not like closed, right? So I'm intentionally like going this over because anyway, we're gonna delete the outlines, right? We're gonna delete the stroke later. But by doing it this way, I could ensure or increase my chances that the shape is a closed shape. So now let's do the fill. Okay, I'm gonna fill this up. Again, if you look at here, there's no like details in the inside because that's going to be a separate layer for the details, right? So I'm just gonna turn on like this one and just gonna bring it like here because that's going to be, I'm just gonna use this as like my guide so that I could like eyedrop the color so that it's easier. So let me go back to my cleanup. So I'm gonna press I on my keyboard and choose this one and then press K and then let's fill this up. So this one can't be filled because it's an open shape. So I think it's here, this one. So if I'm gonna turn on the outline mode, see, it's not closed. So we have to edit this. Luckily, this is a stroke, right? So I can like modify this and like bring it to so that it would now be closed. And for the hair, I think this is also open. See, this one here is an open shape, so we need to close that. So let me continue with the color. So normally I don't color it as I finish the outline. Normally I'm going to like finish the outline first and then do the color later, but I just want to show you how the cleanup is done. So I'm just gonna do like one frame, and then after I'm gonna do like a time lapse of like I'm gonna do the outline first. Okay, so once we have like finished the color, I'm going to select this and then click this one and then click this. That's going to like delete the outline. Now we only have this, right? So next is we need to create like a new layer for like the details because now it's just the outlines, right? I mean, it's just the solid color. We need the details. So I've created like a new layer. So I'm just gonna like rename this as cleanup details, and this one is cleanup. This is for the color. So let me turn back on the tie down, and then we can't see the tie down because the cleanup color is on top, right? So I'm going to hide the cleanup color right there. So now for the details, right? The details is we need a detail for here and the eyes and the brow and the mouth. I think we can like place the tie down like on top of the cleanup, right? So that if I'm gonna turn on the color, we still have like this guide, right? You could still see like the cleanup now. So I'm gonna press F4. So I'm on the details layer, right? This one needs details because again, as I've told you before, they are the same color, but so that we could have like the shoulder separated from the body, we need like this kind of like detail. And the fingers, so this one we need like a detail and also this. And for the like leg, right, this one we need like an outline. And that's how we're gonna do the cleanup. So I'm just gonna hide the tie down. So now it looks like that, right? So next, I'm just going to time lapse this, and I'm not going to, so that it's faster. I'm gonna do the outlines first, and then the cleanup details next, and then add in the color, and then remove the outline, and then we're gonna be done. So I'm gonna press Y again on my keyboard, and then I'm going to turn on the tie down layer, and And then I'm just gonna time lapse this. I'm gonna like do the cleanup in a straight ahead manner. It would also be a good idea to turn on like the onion skin, just to make sure that you have like the lines consistent. But as long as like even if you have this turned off, if you could just follow exactly your tie downs, you would be, you're gonna be fine. But I just like want to be sure, so I'm also like turning on like the onion skin just to make sure that I have like I have this correctly. So you could also set the auto smoothing like settings. So I already have like my paintbrush tool activated or selected. So I already have pressed Y. That's the selected tool. So if I'm gonna click this properties tab and scroll down, we have like smoothing set to 10. So what it does is like if I'm gonna make a curve, right, it's gonna like smoothen it out for me. But sometimes it gets the smoothing wrong. So you might want to adjust this. Currently, I find myself like having to redo it again because the Adobe Animate software is getting the smoothing wrong. So I'm just gonna change this to 5 maybe. But I still want to have some smoothing because I have like shaky hand. So I want the software to make it smooth like for me. So but 10 is just too much, I guess. So that depends, right, on like your drawing style. So if maybe at some situation 10 is good, but here I'm gonna change this to 5. So I'm gonna change this again to 2 because it's still like correcting like too much of my like strokes, right? So it's like overcorrecting, so I'm setting it to 2. So as you can see here, right, you may already have noticed that I'm really like trying to be. I'm just doing this as quickly as I can, because this is a recording. But you could already see that this takes much longer than the tie downs, and um, imagine if I had to think like this on the tie downs, right? That I'm like trying to make it perfect. I won't be able to focus much on the animation. But and on the tie downs, I still think about the motion, right? I'm still like animating, making some correction. But now when I do the cleanup, I'm not really thinking anymore about the animation. I'm just like focusing myself on getting the strokes correctly, right? So the focus now is much different because now I'm just like um, you'll see a lot of excess, right? This one, and those are intentional. But aside from that, I've already like strived to make the strokes as clean as it can be, right? Compared with the tie downs, the tie down is a bit cleaner than the rough animation, of course, but it's not to this extent, right? I don't like think like this on the tie down that it's this super perfect. I mean, even this one isn't like super perfect, right? But the tie downs, I just like made it on model. So now I'm gonna continue with the time lapse. So we have finally finished the outlines. So I'm just gonna like preview this. I'm gonna hide the tie down and click this one and fit in window, and let's just have a look at what we've made so far. So next, what we're going to do is to color the outline. I think I've mentioned earlier that we are gonna do the details first, but I think it would be better to do the colors first. So the guide layer, or this one with the like final render, is only up to this point. So I'm just going to expose it until the end of the animation right here. So I'm gonna click this frame, then press F5. And the way that we're gonna color this so that it's much quicker is we're gonna like pick the color and we're going to fill all of like the same color. Like for example, the head, the arm, and the leg part here are the same color, right? So I'm just gonna like click I for the eyedropper tool, then click this one. So that's what I'm going to like fill, and we're going to fill all of like this part, right? So I'm going to do that now. So there are once in a while you're going to encounter errors like this. So you need to close the you need to figure out where is the hole. Sometimes it's difficult to see. What you can do is turn on the outline mode, and then you'll see here that we have a gap that we need to like fix. So I'm gonna unclick this one and bring it here, and then now it's closed. The other thing is that for your like fill or the paint bucket tool, you could actually change the gap size to close small gaps, but I don't like this because once we remove the outlines, there's gonna be like tiny holes. So I'd like to just choose don't close gaps and just make sure that there are really no gaps. Right? So now let's go forward with this. So I'm lacking few details here, so I'm just gonna turn on like the tie downs, and I'm gonna press Y on my keyboard, the paintbrush tool, because I forgot to do this specific detail. We need that so when we color they are separate. I'm just checking if I like missed a few of the previous frames. So I think all are good. Now let's go back to coloring the skin. So now I'm going to start again from the beginning right here and choose a different color to fill. I would want the shirt. So let's continue this. So next, I'm going to do the hair. So next, let's do the pants. So I'm just gonna color this ahead because this is only like one frame. This one, we need to decide what color this is because this only appeared in one like frame. So I'm just gonna make this a bit darker than the pants, around this color. And now let's go back again. And now let's do the shoe, this part of the shoe. The shoe has like two color, this one and this one. I'm gonna do this one first. So only one color left, and it's this color. And I'm just gonna do this part first. It's only like one frame, right? So I'm gonna do this like ahead. I'm gonna select the fill color, and I'm going to choose a darker color than this. And then I'm gonna press I again and click this one, and I'm going to proceed. Or I think it's now too dark. Let me undo that. Maybe just a little bit darker. And I'm gonna press I and click this one, and let's proceed. So now we are done. We still lack the shadow, this color. So let's again, all the way from the beginning. So now we're done with the color. Next is we're gonna remove the outline. So I'm just gonna duplicate this because I just want to save like the outline, keep it for later. So I'm gonna right click and then duplicate layers, and I'm just gonna rename this as clean up color backup, maybe. Right, and I'm just gonna right click, make this as a guide, and bring this all to the backup folder. So now it's inside the backup folder. So now we need to delete the outline. We can like select these like frame by frame, and then one by one like set the stroke color to empty. Or we could turn this on, this one. It means we can delete multiple frames, right? So we're gonna go here, this one at the end, and drag this all the way to the beginning. Now we could see all frames. And then now if I'm going to drag and select these, all of the frames are now being selected. And what we could do is I'm going to click this one now and change to empty. So now all of like the fray or the outline is now removed. So I'm gonna like turn off the edit multiple frames and then turn on the onion skin now, and let's bring the onion skin back to its like normal range. And remember that we kept a backup for the cleanup, so I'm just gonna hide this one. So now we have this. I'm just gonna press enter on my keyboard. We're almost done. We just need to add the details, right? So I'm gonna click this lock icon so it won't appear in like my onion skin. And we need now this, right? The details. I'm just gonna press B on my keyboard, and I'm going to press I, and we need this color. I think it's just black. I think this, yeah, I think it's just a black color. Now let's move forward, and I'm gonna turn on the tie down. I'm gonna reveal the tie down. Now let's add the details. So even with our precautions that we took to like avoid this, we still have this like small like holes in our color. So let's fix that ahead of time. Once we already like spotted the mistake like this one, parts that weren't like filled, we need to fix that. So I'm going to unlock the color and go here, and I'm going to press I and just fill that in. And also here I've like seen like some errors. I think that's already good. Now let's go back. I'm going to lock this again, press I on my keyboard, and then I'm gonna click this one, then B, and then let's continue on with the details. So this one, there's like a bit of like mistake. I think that we weren't able to fill, and once we removed like the outlines, it now became like this. So we need to fix this. So to fix this, I have clicked the B shortcut, the classic brush tool, and if you click this option, the brush mode, I'm going to select paint behind, right? So if I'm gonna like press I, and now I'm in this color, press B, now this is going to paint behind. Now I'm gonna press I again and this one, and then press B on my keyboard. Now it's gonna like paint behind the current drawing, and now we have corrected, we fixed the error. Now let's go back to our details. So now we are done. So I'm gonna hide now the tie down layer, and I'm going to hide the guide. This one, I mean the design, and this is what it looks like. And I'm just going to like add a background. So I'm gonna create a new layer and reveal this again, and I'm going to like click this oval tool, and I'm gonna click this rectangle tool. I'm gonna press I on my keyboard and choose this, and then again click this one. And I'm just gonna want this background, and let's have a look. So we're done. Before we consider this done, let's like have a last minute check with our animation and see if there's something that we could still improve upon, or maybe we could like catch some mistakes. And hopefully we did the best that we can in like the tie downs, that we've already corrected it, and that when we did the cleanup, there's like it's perfect. But chances are you still need like to do some minor corrections. And my initial like impression for this one is there's like an abrupt movement from here to here, especially on like the details. And one thing I notice is that the structure of the pelvis, right, is we've set it in the rough, that it looks like something like this, right? That's the structure of the pelvis. And what we've decided to do was for like the details is we have this by default, right? We don't see this one like drawn in, and sometimes it's like shown, and that's okay, right? But on this specific frames from here to here, the change isn't smooth and it's abrupt. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to I'm going to lock the color because we have that locked in. But the details is we can still like modify this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to like lasso out this part, and I'm just going to click delete, and let's have a look. And we could even like turn on like the onion skin, right? And let's have a look again. So I just removed the white spot. I think it was an error. I may have accidentally like draw on it. So going back again to here, right? It still is a bit abrupt. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lock the clean up color, and for this one I'm going to turn on like the onion skin, and I'm just gonna lasso this out again, this part, and I'm gonna press B on my keyboard. And although it's wrong, right? Structurally it's wrong, but I'm gonna bring the detail closer to the next in between. The reason is so that it would have like a smoother like transition. But if you really like analyze it, it's already like a bit wrong. This one is now much wider, but if we look at it like as a whole, it's much smoother now. And there's also like another thing I would like to like fix now that looking at this like multiple times. This part here, this one like just like thins in, right? I want this to be like, I want the volume of this to be consistent. This one's okay. This one's like a bit like thick. This one is, it's like from thick to thin. And what we can do is we could adjust like the cleanup color. That's like one solution. But if we adjust the cleanup color, meaning we need to adjust the rest of the in between, and I don't want to repeat the process again. What we can do is just adjust the detail. So I'm just gonna like try and maintain the volume and make it like that. And also here, so I'm just gonna, because now we only have like one frame where we have like this stroke here, but the rest is not this one also. So there's like an inconsistency with the type of detail that we are including. So I'm just gonna make it consistent. I'm just gonna like delete this one and maybe adjust this. We could turn on like the onion skin so that we could see. So I'm gonna make it something like this. And what I'm like looking at is trying to maintain the volume here. And let's hide that and let's have a look. So it looks much better. So now it feels much better and it looks smooth. And how about let's just make it consistent that we're not anymore gonna include like this part of the pelvis in our structure, right? Let's just like omit that like detail. So I'm just going to remove, so it's just going to be a line. So we are not gonna include this anymore. So now let's have a look, and I think it's much feels much better. I still like feel that there's like some abrupt movement from here to here. It's not really smooth, right? You can see that the form like changes. Right here we don't have a line, and suddenly it has a line. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to add in like a line here, and from here to here we have like this line disappear. So I'm going to bring that back, something like that. And here this curve is like gone, so I'm going to bring that in just so we can like have a more smooth transition. And here we have this line, and here like it's gone. Somehow it's like our brain is like looking for it. So I'm gonna bring that in, but a bit smaller now. So from here to here that it's gone, now it makes more sense. So now let's preview this again. So I think this is good. So this is the animation. So that's it. This is the end of episode 3 and the end of the timing and spacing tutorial series. So I really hope that you enjoyed your time learning with me, and I hope you learned something today. Also, if you want to join our channel to get access to members only lessons, then you could click the join button below, or click the link in the description. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. Thanks, and I hope to see you in the next video.